What's going on, wrestling family? Welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about the hot topic in the internet wrestling community, and that is Drew McIntyre failing his cash in this year at Money in the Bank. Now, as I've observed the landscape of the internet wrestling community, as usual, on cue, a lot of people are blowing a head gasket. They are pretty upset. They are frustrated. They are crashing out over the fact that Drew McIntyre failed his cash in at Money in the Bank this year. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Although I don't 100% agree with this group of people, I do understand why they're pretty upset, but I also believe that what WWE did last night on Money in the Bank far outweighs someone winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and cashing it in. And I'll talk about that in a few seconds, but do me a favor before I get started. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into this. So for the group of people who are upset, I get where you're coming from. Now, here's the thing, WWE. If you want to find a way to piss off the internet wrestling community, one of the things you could do is to have a failed cash-in happen. Specifically, the men's Money in the Bank briefcase failed cash-in. Because outside of Damian Priest cashing it in at WrestleMania, the men's Money in the Bank briefcase has had a weird history where a lot of people feel like it's lost its prestige, where it's not even important because of all the failed cash-ins. We could talk about Austin Theory multiple times. We could talk about Baron Corbin and whatever that weird thing they did with Otis. So people feel like, why do you keep doing this to the men's Money in the Bank briefcase? And it's not like a gender war thing. It's just some type of thing that's been happening kind of consistently with that briefcase. Also, by having someone fail the briefcase cash in, they feel like you're robbing an opportunity to the other men involved in the Money in the Bank match, where they could have won it and probably had a full match, or probably, you know, had an opportunity to win that belt or things like that. Also, in addition to that, Cmpunk and Drew McIntyre, which we all agree, their feud does not necessarily need a title. So a lot of people are like, well, if they don't need a title, why get somebody in the position where they could win the title to fail that cash in? Now that he failed the cash in at Money in the Bank, a lot of people have to wait a whole nother year for Money in the Bank to come back around to see who's going to win that briefcase at that time. Now, for me, again, I don't 100% agree with those ideas, but I get exactly where they're coming from. But if we take all of that and we think about what happened, WWE did an amazing thing by allowing it to happen that way. That instead of having someone win the Money in the Bank briefcase and cash it in, they've killed like 10 birds with one stone, specifically when it comes to storylines last night. So we got to think about everything that happened. So we saw that CM Punk went in and cost Drew McIntyre the opportunity. So we don't even have to really get into that, okay? That boils the feud over. One of the interesting things that Drew McIntyre said at the end of the show, he said that I know where your family lives, CM Punk, which I got excited about. Although CM Punk is my Chicago brethren, I think we're going to get a crazy situation like the Randy versus Triple H thing, when Triple H went into Randy Orton's house, or when we saw LA Knight go to AJ Styles' house. I love when they do those things, because I think it's always interesting on how they can spin it, and how it can just make the feud go crazy. I cannot wait to see that happen. We also saw that when Damian Priest won that title, he snatched it from the referee. He was pretty upset about that. Now, it was good that he won, because he gets to stay within the Judgment Day, and they can continue that storyline between him and Finn Balor and whatever's happening with Liv Morgan and all of that stuff mixed together. So that was smart to have him win that match and not have him get kicked out of the Judgment Day. But we realized that Damian Priest was pretty upset when he won that match. When he snatched it from the referee, he even stared down CM Punk, because the storyline that's being told in the head of Damian Priest is that he wants to prove that he can defend that title without any type of outside interference or any type of help. And at this moment, since he's had that title, every defense has had some type of interference one way or another, whether it be by the Judgment Day, whether it be by CM Punk. So to him, he wants to prove to himself that he can do it on his own. And this isn't a new thing. This is something he said to Seth Rollins almost a year ago when they had their feud, when Seth Rollins had his title. You know, when Damian Priest had the briefcase and Seth Rollins had the World Heavyweight Championship. So this isn't a new thing for Damian Priest. So it's going to be interesting how they're going to play that out, and if that's going to be ammo that Finn Balor is going to use to insult Damian Priest. So you already got that whole thing going on. You got Seth Rollins at the end of the match staring at CM Punk. Now that's going to reignite their feud. You know, Seth Rollins looked just as upset or close enough as he did last year at SummerSlam, or not SummerSlam, but Survivor Series 2024, when he saw that CM Punk came out. So they're going to reignite that whole thing. So how are they going to play that out? When you got Drew and you got Seth mad at CM Punk, how are they going to handle that? Will Drew and Seth work together? If that's the case, will CM Punk recruit someone to help him out? Or how would they do that whole thing? It leaves us with a lot of questions, which is great, because now we have a really good reason to watch Monday Night Raw, and that's how you do it. You leave cliffhangers, you leave things that need to be woven together like stories, and have us watch the next show to find out exactly what's going to happen. Now, as far as the whole thing about the guys in the match for Money in the Bank being screwed over, I think we kind of had this conversation, and I think it makes sense because a lot of the guys, in my personal opinion, and I've said on the channel multiple times, that they're not ready for the main event yet. Okay, now speaking of main event, let's talk about Jey Uso. I get that he's over with the fans. I get that he got the fans eating, the buying the glasses, the merch, doing the art, all that stuff like that. I get that. But I think that he should hit the mid-card championship first before he gets shot up to the main title. And I told you guys over and over, I personally feel like it'll be better if he organically got a match for a title, whether it be the IC title, whether it be the World Heavyweight Championship. And then the person who cost him his titles, his brother, Jimmy Uso, to be there to stand by his side to possibly help him win that championship, not by interference, but stopping the other team for having interference. That would be kind of poetic. That would be an interesting thing, as opposed to having him carry that briefcase for almost a year, and then have that be there when they have that whole bloodline Civil War thing happening. I think that's just going to be a distraction. It's going to be in the background. People are going to feel like they felt about Rhea Ripley when she had the title, when she was more involved in a lot of the Judgment Day stuff, when they weren't focused on her being a women's champion, where she was barely defending it, where people felt like that she's just holding the title, they should give it to someone else, and the Judgment Day stuff is kind of overshadowing her being the actual women's champion. It's not going to make any sense for him to hold the briefcase. Now, could they find a way to make it work? They could, but the whole bloodline thing, it should just be focused on family. It should just be focused on the bloodline. It shouldn't be any distractions in there. So why give him that briefcase? LA Knight, we already know he's got a match against Logan Paul at SummerSlam for that US title. We're thinking that he's going to win that title. So why make him win the briefcase? Andrade Cien Almas, he's not doing anything. Carmelo Hayes, it's too early for him. Who else is involved in this? I'm sorry, Chad Gable. He's got his hands full with the YS6, and even if he had an opportunity, we feel like the YS6 is going to do something. So I think the only viable person to win this would have been Drew McIntyre. And, and to have it fail cash in again, it kills so many birds with one stone. And I think that was a great thing to do, because if it was the Vince McMahon era where Drew McIntyre failed to cash in, he would have just failed to cash in. We would have talked about it on Monday Night Raw. We would have heard about it on Monday Night Raw, and it would have went anywhere. It wouldn't have did anything. And the time that Vince McMahon was running WWE before Triple H took over, one of the main things a lot of people were complaining about is that we didn't get any good storylines. Stuff just happened for no reason. Tag teams would be together for 2 days and break up. Stuff would just happen without any type of reward for following the storyline. And now we're in a situation where so many storylines are coming out of this stuff that we don't normally get out of like a Royal Rumble, where multiple storylines are told in the ring, or even a Money in the Bank match, coincidentally, that it didn't happen in the actual match. So I think this is a great thing. I think this is worth it. It's going to ramp the feud up higher and higher, and I cannot wait to see how this ends. And they really didn't treat the Money in the Bank briefcase like it was some of importance anyways until SmackDown this recent Friday. Outside of them having qualifier matches, no one really was thinking about the Money in the Bank briefcase. They really didn't put it on TV like that. I mean, they mentioned it, of course, they got to advertise a PLE, but it didn't really feel important at all. And also, thinking about the two champions we have, or the future champion we may have, we got Cody Rhodes. He's not losing that to a cash-in at any point in time ever. He's probably going to have that match at WrestleMania against The Rock, or if he loses that title, it'll probably be at Royal Rumble next year, which I highly doubt. And also, if Gunther is going to win at SummerSlam, which a lot of people believe, I'm not 200% on that, because in my mind, the math in my mind is thinking, I don't think the men and the women, the king and queen of the ring is going to win on the same night. I think Nia Jax is going to win it, and maybe Gunther will probably lose that match one way or another. Maybe due to an interference. Maybe Finn Balor will come in at that point and probably, try to cause Damian Priest to accidentally attack. Who knows? But it can go either way. If Gunther wins, I wouldn't be mad. And if he does win, I believe that he's going to hold that title for a while. So a Money in the Bank briefcase cash-in is not the route that they probably want to go when it comes to him losing that title, in my personal opinion. And can you imagine if he wins that, and his match that he possibly loses to is probably, would that be crazy if that was Jey Uso down the line to take the title off of him, because he did lose the IC title match against him? So it could possibly be the case. But anyway, at the end of the day, all in all, I feel like that this was a great decision. It makes sense. I think we got to wait time. I think people just aren't being patient enough. You can't plant a seed and expect the apple tree within 5 minutes. You got to wait for it to happen. And then let's judge it based upon what happens, what type of result. We got to judge it after the fact. We're trying to figure out what these people are thinking and why they should do certain things based upon our own knowledge of what they're doing in creative. We don't know what they're doing. Now, if you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not one of them people who say you got to like everything I like. Fine. You don't like it, that's cool. But at the same time, we all got to do one thing. We got one thing in common. We all don't have a choice but wait to see what happens. But at the end of the day, let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. Salute. Peace. Have a good day.